listening to Mia horror stories, and today's story is She Said My Name Through the Mirror. The screen will stay completely black, letting your imagination do all the work. No visuals, no noise, just a story that creeps under your skin. Don't skip a second, because every detail builds to the chilling end you won't want to miss. I was brushing my teeth when I first noticed it, the faint scuff of something across the bathroom tiles behind me. Not loud, more a whisper under the hum of the fluorescent light, but enough to make me freeze mid-brush. My reflection didn't move, and the toothpaste foam made my lips stiff, yet I felt the air shift, like someone had just walked past. I shrugged, swiping at the foam and trying to convince myself it was the loose vent in the ceiling, or maybe the wind rattling the front door, but it didn't feel right. The mirror, fogged from the shower I'd taken earlier, had a smudge I didn't remember leaving. "Okay, relax," I muttered, rinsing my mouth and spitting into the sink. I leaned closer, studying my eyes in the glass. They looked tired, sure, but otherwise normal. Normal. The word kept echoing somewhere in my skull as I straightened and flicked off the bathroom light. I walked into the kitchen. The apartment in Cambridge, Massachusetts, smelled faintly of coffee and burned toast. I hadn't eaten anything yet, but the lingering smell made my stomach churn a little. My phone vibrated on the counter. I picked it up, no notifications. That was normal too, except I could have sworn the lock screen had briefly flickered. Just for a split second before the screen settled on the usual time. A glitch, probably. I swear, I said aloud, though the apartment was empty except for me. I'm losing it. I didn't notice her then. Her voice came through the kitchen door, soft, hesitant, but unmistakable. "Ellie." I froze. "Who's there?" My voice sounded sharper than I meant, slicing the morning quiet. I think you left this out." She stepped fully into the kitchen, holding a mug. The steam curled like smoke from a dying fire. "Ellie, me, of course." Ellie let out a slow breath and leaned against the counter. I'd recognize her anywhere. Not someone lurking in the shadows, not some prankster neighbor. Just her, Nicole, the only person I'd ever let know that I checked the locks twice every night. Nicole, 29, female, soft-spoken with a tendency to over-explain herself, especially when she was nervous. She worked at the same publishing house I did, and she had a laugh that sounded like a bell in a drafty room. Her flaw, she hated confrontation, so much she sometimes froze, while everything around her burned. "Sorry," she said, eyes darting to the counter. I didn't know you'd be up." She put down the mug and rubbed her arms like she was cold. The apartment wasn't cold. "Morning," I said, forcing a smile. "Coffee." "Thanks, just a quick one." She poured, the hiss of coffee against ceramic louder than it should have been, the aroma biting my nose. We moved to the small table by the window, where the winter light caught the frost clinging to the panes. Outside, a faint hum of traffic made its way up from Massachusetts Avenue. Inside, the apartment smelled of brewing coffee and something else I couldn't place, like the faint metallic tang of a scratch on metal, or old pennies left in a drawer. My heart ticked up, slow and deliberate, and I forced it back down. So Nicole started, fiddling with the mug handle. Weekend plans. Nothing, I shrugged. Laundry, maybe grocery shopping. Her lips pressed together. She nodded, but didn't seem satisfied. I didn't press. I knew the look. She was worried about something, and she wanted me to ask, and she didn't want to say it first. A dull thump from the bathroom made both of us jump. I grabbed my mug tightly. Nicole's hand lingered near mine, almost touching. She didn't pull back. I thought I heard. She stopped herself. "Yeah," I said, voice even, though I felt the hair on my neck bristle. Probably just the vent. Old building. But as we sat there, sipping coffee, I noticed the mirror again. The same smudge, or maybe a new one. A streak in the fog where someone's hand could have passed. Or maybe my own. Ellie, Nicole's voice was softer now, almost too quiet to catch. "Do you ever get that feeling like someone's, I don't know, just outside your sight?" I set my mug down. "You mean like paranoia?" Maybe. She looked out the window at nothing. Her shoulders were tense. Or just, I don't know, watched. I didn't respond. I wanted to, but I didn't know how to. My own private fear, one I'd never admit even to Nicole, was that I was losing track of what was real. Maybe something wasn't adding up, and I was too rational, too careful to notice until it was too late. The radiator clicked, then hissed. A car door slammed outside. A pigeon fluttered along the windowsill. Ordinary, everyday sounds, but my stomach didn't settle. Nicole set her mug down, and I noticed her hand shaking just slightly. She pulled her sleeves over her hands, brushing a strand of hair behind her ear. "So," she said, eyes meeting mine, "we should probably check the doors again. Make sure the locks are." I nodded, swallowing. "Yeah, good idea." The choice hung in the air. Do we leave it, accept the strange noises as normal? Or do we go inspect the apartment, step into a small but undeniable crack in our reality, and see what's waiting? Nicole was already moving toward the hallway, and I had no excuse to stay behind. The mirror in the bathroom waited silently. I didn't look at it. Not yet. We moved down the narrow hallway toward the front door, Nicole leading with a tentative step. My hand hovered over the deadbolt. My instincts screamed at me to check the locks twice, maybe 3 times. She glanced at me, eyes sharp now, no longer hiding behind a coffee cup fumbling or small talk. "Did you hear that?" she whispered, a tremor threading through her voice. "I think it was the radiator," I said, though my voice lacked conviction. The click and hiss of the old system had always been part of the apartment's soundtrack. But this morning, it sounded hollow, like a mimic of movement, like someone packing just beyond the frame of vision. Nicole shook her head. "No, something else." I sighed. She had a point. My private fear, the one I barely admitted even to myself, was that I could over-rationalize things until reality blurred. Maybe I was imagining patterns. Maybe my mind was just straining under too little sleep and too much caffeine. We reached the door. I bent, fumbling for the keys, and then I froze. One of the locks, the top deadbolt, was slightly ajar. Just a hair, barely noticeable, but it shouldn't be. I remembered locking it last night. My stomach tightened. Ellie, Nicole's voice was sharp this time. She pointed at the lock, eyes wide. It's open. Someone could have been in here. I swallowed. Maybe I didn't lock it properly. Maybe my voice trailed off. Maybe someone left it like that, she said, her hands shaking as she pushed a strand of hair back. Ellie, we can't just ignore this. I nodded, taking a deep breath. The city outside the window buzzed faintly. Somewhere down below, a car alarm chirped and stopped. Ordinary noise, yet somehow louder in the morning stillness. All right, I said. We checked the apartment room by room. Slowly, nothing sudden. Nicole hesitated, biting her lip. Her flaw was clear. Confrontation paralyzed her. But her fear today was palpable, and it pushed her forward anyway. We started in the living room. The floorboards creaked under our weight. Books sat where we had left them. The laptop on the coffee table was closed. I ran my hand over the back of the sofa. No movement beneath. Everything looks normal, I whispered, more to myself than to her. Doesn't feel normal, she muttered. Her eyes kept darting toward the mirror in the hallway, a long, narrow rectangle framed in dark wood. That mirror had been a focal point all morning. The smudge was still there, faint but persistent. We moved to the bedroom. I opened the door, and the room smelled faintly of something burnt, like toast again, but sharper, acrid. The sheets were rumpled, the window slightly cracked open. I hadn't left it that way. My pulse quickened. I didn't open this, I said. Nicole reached for the curtains. Someone could have, she stopped, her voice caught in her throat. Her hands trembled, and she let the fabric fall. I took a step forward, scanning the closet. Everything hung as it should, but the faint metallic tang was stronger here. I realized it was the brass of the dresser knobs combined with something else. Sweat prickled along my neck. Then the phone rang. My phone, the one on the counter in the kitchen, vibrated violently on the nightstand. Nicole jumped back. I grabbed it. Caller ID unknown. No number. I stared at it. Who the hell calls this early and doesn't leave a number? Nicole grabbed my arm. Don't answer it. I hesitated, thumb hovering over the screen. Another vibration, more insistent. Then a text flashed. I see you. The words made my stomach drop. My rational mind screamed, it's a prank. Someone's screwing with us. But deep in my chest, my fear, the one I never voiced, tightened. Maybe I hadn't imagined the scuffing sound, the flickering phone, the smudge on the mirror. Maybe something was already inside the apartment. I'm calling the police, I said. No, do, Nicole said, grabbing the receiver. If it's someone inside, they'll know. Her voice cracked. Her fear paralyzed her just as she tried to act. I swallowed and tried to stay calm. We need to secure the apartment first, then call. We moved toward the bathroom, the hallway mirror stretched between us. Nicole paused. Do you think someone could be in there? Hiding. I shook my head, though my throat was dry. Probably not, but we'll check. Step slow. Stay close. I opened the bathroom door. Nothing. Tiles as cold as they'd always been, sink clean, shower curtain drawn. But the mirror, the streaks looked sharper now, almost like fingerprints pressed too heavily. I stared for a long moment. Could be steam condensation. Could be someone else. Before I could decide, the lights flickered. Just for a moment, but long enough to make Nicole jump. I reached for the switch. They came back on. Okay, I said, forcing calm. Enough weird for one morning. Let's lock the door and call the cops. We headed back to the front, but the doorknob didn't turn smoothly. Someone had wedged it, barely, but enough to stop a normal turn. Panic hit both of us at once. Nicole pressed herself against the wall, lips pressed together. I told you, she whispered. Someone's here. Someone is here. I tried again. The lock refused. Then another vibration from my phone, text flashing. I'm closer. We exchanged a look that said everything. Our morning coffee, our ordinary routines, all of it had vanished in an instant. The choice was forced. Confront, call, or wait and hope. Waiting wasn't an option. But just as I grabbed a nearby metal lamp, impulse over strategy, there was a knock from the other side of the door. Slow. I gripped the metal lamp tighter, its weight solid in my hands, but not enough to make me feel safe. Nicole pressed against the wall beside me, eyes wide, jaw tight. The slow knock on the door had stopped, but the sound of movement from the other side made our hearts hammer against our ribs. Ellie, what do we do? Nicole whispered. Her voice shook despite the calm she usually tried to project. Listen, I said, keeping my voice low. We need a plan. Step 1, get to a safe room. Bedroom's okay. Close the door behind us and barricade it. Step 2, call the police. She nodded, fumbling as she stepped into the narrow hallway. I followed, careful not to brush the mirror. The reflection made me uneasy, and every flicker of light on the glass seemed to elongate the smudge. My pulse spiked with each step. We pushed into the bedroom. I slammed the door and tried the lock again. It clicked, but didn't feel secure. Nicole shoved the dresser toward it. Heavy, awkward, scraping the hardwood floor. I felt sweat bead at my temples as the effort left us both breathless. Better, she asked, voice trembling. For now. I pressed my ear to the door, straining to hear anything. Nothing but the muffled hum of traffic outside and the hiss of the radiator. I grabbed my phone and dialed 911. The line connected. Police, what's your emergency? I explained quickly. Apartment, Cambridge, possible intruder. Deadbolt tampered with. The dispatcher assured us they were on their way, but ETA 10 to 15 minutes. 10 to 15 minutes in which someone or something was inside our apartment. We leaned against the bed, trying to steady our breathing. The weight of adrenaline made our limbs ache. Nicole rubbed her arms, her hands shaking so violently I thought she might drop the phone. I looked at the hallway mirror again. The smudge seemed darker now, almost like a handprint pressed across the glass. But I told myself it was condensation or residue from cleaning. Minutes passed, each tick of the wall clock louder than the last. I whispered, "We need to check the other rooms, make sure he or whoever hasn't left a trap or an escape route." Nicole flinched. "Are you crazy? We barely secured this room." "I'm not crazy. We need to know." Reluctantly, she followed. We crept to the living room. I swung the lamp ahead of me like a baseball bat. The couch cushions looked normal, the books in order. The window was still cracked. Then a shadow darted past the sheer curtain. Nicole screamed, yanking my arm. "It's him," she shrieked. I froze. My heart slammed into my chest. I gripped the lamp, ready to strike. But then the fluttering shadow resolved itself, a pigeon trapped between the curtain and the glass. Its wings batted frantically. Nicole exhaled shakily, pressing her face into my shoulder. "Okay," I said, trying to keep my voice calm, though my chest felt tight. "False alarm. But we're not safe yet. Let's check the kitchen." The kitchen door creaked under our hands. I noticed something odd. The fridge door wasn't fully closed. I hadn't left it that way. Nicole leaned over to push it shut, and inside, the eggs were slightly jostled, some cracked. A small trickle of yolk ran along the shelf. Nothing else appeared stolen. "Looks like someone rifled through here," I muttered, heart hammering. "But why?" Nicole's voice was quiet. "Maybe looking for something." I nodded, knowing the only thing left unexamined was the bathroom. We exchanged a look. That mirror, it had been the first thing to unsettle me. Now, it felt like a warning. I moved first. Nicole followed closely. The bathroom light flickered as I pushed the door open. No one. Tiles gleamed under the weak fluorescent glow. The shower curtain swayed slightly, though there was no draft. I checked behind it. Empty. I exhaled, but then noticed something. The smudge on the mirror had shifted, or maybe I had been too tense to see it clearly before. It was smeared down the glass, like someone had pressed their palm and dragged it downward. I recoiled. "Ellie," Nicole whispered. Her hand grazed the edge of the counter. "Someone's here. I know it." Before I could respond, a faint tapping came from the window. Something light, elaborate. My first thought, the broken branch from the tree outside, brushing against the glass. I swung the lamp toward it. No, the tapping continued in a rhythmic pattern, deliberate enough to make my stomach tighten. I looked closer, heart racing. A bird. No, something small, trying to make noise. Then, from the corner of my eye, I saw the reflection of the radiator cover leaning slightly forward. The tapping was coming from a loose panel that I'd ignored. False alarm again. Relief washed over me, but only briefly. We were exhausted. Our muscles burned from moving furniture, our nerves frayed from adrenaline, our thoughts spiraling in worst-case scenarios. I leaned against the sink. We've checked everywhere. It has to be safe now, right? Nicole shook her head. I don't know, Ellie. That lock, the phone, someone knows we're here. I realized she was right. Every false alarm had been plausible, grounding us. But everyone also reminded us that our perception was fragile. The tension was cumulative. Then I heard it. A single, deliberate click, the front door latch being manipulated again. Our eyes met. The safe room, barricaded as it was useless now. Whoever or whatever was outside wasn't giving up. We can't wait, I said, voice low, urgent. We have to do something. Nicole's face paled, lips pressed tight. Like what? I grabbed the lamp again, listening. Another faint shift at the door handle. Whoever it was knew we were trapped, and there was no retreat. The point of no return had arrived. Our ordinary morning had vanished, replaced by the knowledge that the apartment, the sanctuary of routine and safety, was compromised. And any hesitation now would leave us vulnerable. The latch on the front door rattled again, this time harder, more urgent. Nicole pressed herself into the bedroom corner, eyes wide, clutching the blanket I had thrown over the dresser to barricade the door. I gripped the metal lamp like a lithe alien, muscles taut, every sense screaming. The intruder wasn't messing around anymore. I'm going to try to see if I can hold them off, I whispered. Nicole's lips trembled. No, don't. I have to. I edged to the door, leaning the lamp against the handle to jam it as best I could. My knuckles were white, sweat ran down my temples. Another series of sharp clicks came from the outside, the doorknob twisting, the metal scraping against the deadbolt. Whoever it was had found a way to bypass the barricade I thought would hold. Then the first blow came. A hard kick against the door shook the frame. My shoulder slammed into it to brace it, teeth gritting. Nicole gasped behind me. The lamp wobbled, threatening to slip. Another kick, and the barricade shifted slightly, enough for a fraction of the door to give. I shouted, Nicole, get the phone ready. She fumbled, dialing 911 again. Her hands shook so badly, I nearly had to grab it. The door rattled once more, then silence. My chest heaved. I lowered the lamp slightly, trying to steady my vision, when a shadow flickered under the door crack. My pulse was hammered. The moment of hesitation, a breath I didn't take, was all it took. The door burst open with a violent slam. I swung the lamp with everything I had, connecting with a shoulder. The figure staggered back, letting out a grunt. Nicole screamed and scrambled toward me. I could see him clearly now, a young man, ragged jacket, jeans torn, face partially obscured by a hoodie. Not a monster, just a desperate human. He lunged again. I shoved Nicole behind me and braced, swinging the lamp like a club. He grabbed it mid-swing, yanking it from my hands. The metal hit the floor with a clatter. My arm stung where it slammed into the door frame. Nicole cried out. I turned, seeing him reach for the dresser, maybe to push it aside, maybe to get at her. Instinct took over. I grabbed the nearest heavy object, a hardcover book from the nightstand, and hurled it. It hit him square in the chest, staggering him backward into the hallway. Run, I shouted, grabbing Nicole's arm. We bolted toward the bathroom, the mirror. I had no plan, only movement. The door to the bathroom slammed behind us. The smudge on the mirror now seemed like a marker, a visual cue of intrusion. I yanked the mirror cabinet open and shoved Nicole inside, crouching beside her. From outside, the intruder cursed, hammering against the bedroom door. My heart thumped like a jackhammer. Then a pause, silence too long. I risked a glance through the crack in the bathroom door. He was gone. Footsteps receded down the hallway. I pressed my ear to the door, trying to detect anything. A faint shuffle, then nothing. Is he? Nicole's whisper broke the tension. I don't know, I admitted, voice low, trembling. But we can't stay here. I remembered the window, the crack we had noticed earlier. I pried it open slowly, careful not to alert him if he was still nearby. Frosted glass, a drop to the fire escape, maybe 10 feet to the ground. I gritted my teeth. No perfect escape, just the one we could make. Can you do it? I asked Nicole. She nodded, trembling. I think so. I helped her through first. Her legs shook. She nearly slipped, but I caught her wrist. I followed, boots scraping against metal, limbs shaking from adrenaline and exhaustion. Below, the street was empty, just the soft hum of traffic. The night air bit at my skin. We ran. Half a block down Massachusetts Avenue, gasping, shivering, hearts hammering, ears straining for any sound behind us. Eventually, we stopped, crouched behind a parked car, trying to catch our breath. Sirens in the distance, police finally. Relief crashed over us, but it was hollow. We had escaped, yes, but the physical toll was immediate. Bruises, scrapes, chafed skin, aching muscles, and the relentless pounding of adrenaline. Nicole sat against the curb, tears streaking her face. I thought we were done. I shook my head. We're safe for now. But the apartment, the mirror, the texts, they lingered in my mind. That smudge, the shifted furniture, the partial lock, every detail replayed, unrelenting. By the time police arrived, we were shivering, exhausted, barely able to recount the sequence without tripping over our own nerves. The intruder had vanished before they entered the building. An empty apartment, no sign of forced entry beyond the minor tampering, no obvious clue to why he had been there, or if he intended to return. I looked at Nicole. She was pale, teeth chattering. Our hands brushed, a shared, silent acknowledgement of what had just happened. Survival had come at a cost. Physical, yes, but emotional and psychological scars ran deeper. That ordinary morning, with coffee and frost on the window, had become an indelible memory of fear, improvisation, and desperation. And the mirror, the smudge, remained in my mind. A reminder that what's human, tangible, and explainable can still unsettle you more than anything else. The police report felt like a strange formality, a way to document chaos in neat bullet points that couldn't contain the tension we'd felt. Nicole sat across from me at the small table in the precinct interview room, knees pressed together, hands folded tightly. The blue overhead lights made the skin under her eyes look almost gray. I rubbed my temples, muscles sore, throat hoarse from shouting and adrenaline. They had taken statements, photographed the disturbed locks, the slight scratches on the bedroom floor, and the smudged mirror that had haunted us all morning. The intruder was still at large. According to the officers, he had no prior reports in the area, an unknown presence who could have been anyone. Someone desperate, someone human, someone we might see again. Afterward, Nicole and I returned to the apartment. Walking through the front door felt both familiar and foreign. The smell of coffee lingered faintly in the kitchen. Sunlight hit the frost, still clinging to the windows. I noticed the mirror immediately, clean and ordinary, though I could still see the memory of the smudge in my mind. I didn't touch it. Nicole didn't either. We moved slowly through the rooms. Furniture had been returned to its approximate place. The fridge door had been pushed shut, the cracked eggs thrown away. Everything looked ordinary again. Yet the cracks were everywhere, tiny imperfections that screamed at the edges of perception. A missing key detail here, a scratch there. The apartment felt smaller, less safe, like a space that had been invaded and wouldn't entirely forgive. Nicole set herself on the couch. I keep thinking about the texts, she murmured. Do you think he was inside all along when he sent them? I hesitated. I wanted to reassure her. Maybe, I said, maybe not. We'll never know for sure. It was the truth. The uncertainty settled over us, heavier than the physical strain. We called a locksmith, changed the locks, and reinforced the doors. I checked the deadbolt 5 times, Nicole watching silently. We spoke little. Words felt inadequate. After the locksmith left, we moved to the bedroom. I touched the dresser. A tiny bruise on my shoulder from the morning's scuffle throbbed painfully. Nicole traced her fingers along the edge of the bed frame, as if mapping the trauma into something tangible. Later, I sat on the floor with a towel around my scraped wrists. Nicole brought coffee in silence. Neither of us wanted conversation, but the act of ordinary life, holding a cup, sipping warm liquid, felt like a minor victory. We both knew the intruder could return, though it was unlikely, and yet that thought lingered in the back of our minds. We couldn't ignore it entirely. We went through our routines the next day as best we could, though sleep didn't come easily. Every creak of the floorboards, every hum of the radiator, every flicker of the fluorescent kitchen light made us pause, listen, calculate. We called friends, told them the story in fragmented sentences, skipping details where memory failed us. People were supportive, yes, but none could truly understand the slow, grinding sense that the apartment, the mirror, and the tiny gaps in our perception had been permanently altered. Nicole left the apartment first the following morning, to work, to errands, to the world outside our bubble. I watched her go, boots crunching against the frost-hardened sidewalk. I wanted to speak, to say something that might calm the lingering tremor in her chest, but all I could manage was a nod. The city carried on as if nothing had happened. Cars roared, buses hissed, the faint clatter of a construction crew echoed down the street. Normal life resumed, indifferent to the fracture in our mourning. I lingered in the apartment, staring at the mirror. The reflection was exact, but I knew better. The smudge existed in memory, a warning I carried with me. I thought about the intruder's texts, the taps at the window, the subtle scrape of the door latch. He could be gone. He might never come back. And yet, the faintest worry, rational or not, lingered in my mind. The apartment felt lived in but fragile, as though it had survived the storm, but bore the marks invisibly beneath the surface. Nicole called later that evening. We spoke quietly. I asked her how she felt. She said she was tired. She didn't mention the fear in her dreams. I didn't mention mine. We shared the ordinary gestures, checking locks, turning on lights, shutting doors carefully. Small acts of reassurance that felt necessary. By the next week, the apartment seemed to settle again. Routine returned. Coffee in the morning, email, work calls, the rhythm of daily life. Yet the mirror, ordinary as it looked, remained a touchstone of unease. Every so often, when sunlight angled just right, I thought I saw a faint line along the glass. Could be residue, could be condensation, could be nothing. But I never touched it again. We learned something about ourselves in those hours of terror. Nicole had acted despite her fear. I had improvised, made decisions I hadn't thought I could make. But we were changed. The ordinary world had cracks now, minor ones that wouldn't heal, reminders that normalcy was delicate, human, and easily breached. And in the quietest moments, when the apartment hummed around me and frost clung to the windows, I wondered if we had truly seen the last of him, or if the mirror, the smudge, and the gap in the locks were still holding something unseen in reserve. And that's the end of today's chilling tale. If you enjoyed this story and want more nights full of suspense, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe to Mia Horror Stories, and turn on the bell so you never miss a scare. I've got plenty more stories waiting for you, so stick around and check out the other videos on the channel. Thanks for watching, and until next time, stay safe and don't look behind you.